Welcome to Progressive Mindset Podcast. My name is Natalie Potts, business development coach and mentor, and each week I'll be bringing you an inspiring personal message to help you unlock creating a living life full of energy, action, impact and happiness. Over the next few podcasts, I'm going to be bringing you a mini-series of interviews and shares from some of the great coaches I've connected with the past few years to show that collaboration over competition is actually a thing. It can be done, right? So today I am announcing that I will be sharing the story of Nadia. So she reached out through Instagram not too long ago actually, and we just got talking around the different things that we do. It's kind of similar niches in terms that she's a business coach and a mindset coach, whereas I'm more around business development and, really accelerating the pace of your business and taking action. So we're going to share some different thoughts and feelings around the mindset and lots of different things. So as I always do, a huge welcome to Nadia. Thank you so much for joining me today, Nadia. As always, I like people to kick off and share their own story and a bit about them because it's natural and I can't tell your story as well as you can. So say hi, say where you're from, what you do, and a little bit about you would be great.
Yeah, so I am Nadia Oboye and I'm from Manchester, which you might be able to tell. And yeah, I am a life and business coach that works with new coaches. I help them set up their businesses, get over any obstacles, and essentially sign their first clients.
Amazing. So talk to me about when you say, start up and clients, what type of background will those people have come from, and how have you, I guess we've spoken before a little bit around you become your perfect ideal client, don't we? Or perfect future client, whatever. How have you found you've connected with the clients that you have at the moment? What's brought them to you?
Yeah, so when I first started my journey, I was in a corporate role. I was doing coaching in that role. And then I looked into it privately and I became a life coach. And my mind was blown. I was just, the thought of being able to control your mind and, really use that to reach your potential, I just thought was amazing. And it was something that I'd not heard of before and that wasn't mainstream. So I looked into it. I wanted to do that. I wanted to help other people see the benefits of that. But what I was finding was everyone that I was attracting was just like me. And they were women that were quite often in corporate jobs. They weren't happy in the corporate jobs and they wanted to have that sense of freedom and start their own business. So when that started to happen, I felt like, okay, I need to be able to have the skills to help them even further. So that's when I niched down a little bit more and added the business coaching into my world as well. So I could then help them with all the life obstacles they need to go through, but then also on top of that, help them with the business. So I think because that is totally the journey that I've been on, consciously, unconsciously, they were the types of people that I was attracting, and that just, it must have been what I was saying and my story that I was telling people on social media. It was just bringing those types of people to me. So that's how I really easily was able to connect with those types of people.
Yeah, I think that's really true. It's interesting what you say about the story. And I was sharing with someone yesterday that our stories connect us. That's what resonates with someone else, is that we've been on the same journey, and it is that we would never, I don't think you could fully understand someone because you aren't them. However, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Steve Covey, you can seek to understand at first, seek to understand and then be understood. So I think that, like you've just said there, that part and slowing things down and sharing what you do is that part where you get that person, oh, there's an interest there. And I guess bringing on from that, it's really interesting you mentioned about startup and the business part and in the mindset, because I don't actually work too much on mindset anymore. I did. And I guess what I've found is that I think that we could at times, and this might be controversial, we can use it as an excuse, and we can, we procrastinate and allow mindset to pull us back and just put everything onto that, opposed to actually just take a step back and look at where we're at. However, I do understand that it is such an important part for people to understand and work through. And I guess I say that in that way because it's always there. It's never going to go away. You're always going to have fear. You're always going to procrastinate. You're always going to be overthinking. So that mindset part is more about, probably for me, is understanding how you think and how you feel, and then building on that and doing, being patient and learning and doing and using it in the right way. So I think going back to yourself with that of starting up people, What are the three biggest mindset blocks do you think for people when they're starting up, whether it's a coaching business or a business?
Yeah, wow, gosh, there's so many. There's literally, mindset is, I think it's something like you say, we all have, but we don't necessarily realize the effect it's having on us.
Yeah.
And the three biggest blocks, there's definitely the whole imposter syndrome
Mm-hmm.
problem. When somebody starts a business, women, I think, feel that more, in my experience in the corporate world too.
Yeah.
And it's that mindset of, who am I to teach anyone? Who's going to pay me? I'm not good enough. All of those thoughts. That's a really, really strong one. And I've seen that carry through even when someone has 10 clients, 20 clients, 30 clients. The imposter syndrome is always a little bit still there.
Mm.
Um, the other big mindset block is the comparisonitis. So seeing
Right.
other people doing that and thinking you must be doing something wrong because you're not getting the same results as them. But
Yeah.
obviously, as we all know, you don't see the full journey, the full picture of that person. So you can't make an accurate comparison in that way. But that's the big one. I think that manifests itself into lots of different mindset thoughts. Again, playing a little bit into the imposter syndrome, thinking, well, if I was good enough, I'd be having all the success that she's having, and I'm not, so that's why it's not happening. So they're the biggest thoughts that always crop up, especially at the beginning.
Yeah. How do you break that down with someone to move them forward?
Yeah, so with the imposter syndrome, it's all about evidence. And I do this a lot with like limiting beliefs, finding the evidence.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we can have one negative bit of evidence and 17 positive bits of evidence, and we always focus on the one negative bit of evidence, and it's just the way the brain works. So it's a lot of repetition. I get people to write win lists and say, okay, what's your experience? How have you helped people in the past? What's happened that's been great? What have you been really happy about? And when they sit down and do that, they're always like, wow, okay, actually, yeah, I've got all this great stuff. And I think when we're just thinking in everyday life, we forget all of that. So having the win list there to look back to is really important. So I find that works really well. And then the comparisonitis, it's very much a case of you have to find what works for you. So with the comparisonitis, I always say, if there's anyone you're following on social media that doesn't inspire you,
Yeah.
you can't learn from, then don't follow them anymore. And that might be that you're following someone really big and they do inspire you and it's amazing, but they make you feel crap at the same time because they're doing so good and you're not. And I just say, you just have to block that off for now while you're working through this, and be really intentional about where you're placing your thoughts. So for instance, if you're going on social media to engage with new clients, do that and spend 15 minutes doing that. The moment you start to veer off and start looking at someone else's story and comparing yourself, switch back. So having that intentionality before you do that task can just help you to just make sure you stick to what you're doing. You're not getting involved in what anyone else is up to. And that can really just help you then to move forward.
I like this, and again, there's loads of points in that I love. I'm going to ask you this actually, because I was listening this morning to a podcast and it was talking about people that are positive toxic. And it's interesting, I was going to do a post on it later because I was called that last year by somebody. And I thought, wow. And at first it really got to me. I was like, why would they say that? It's really nasty. And then I thought, more about, put myself, empathetic and be in their shoes. What is it I'm doing that's showing that? And I've done a little bit of background research into thinking about this as well. And I guess that goes back to my own development. I very much parallel the two, that I'm building a business, but I'll always focus on my own development. I'm very much into CPD, and because I think then the more we push ourselves and the more we grow, everything comes off of that, and we grow in our business as well. So I think this idea of positive reinforcements come about for me. And the difference is that it isn't about waking up every single day and saying, I'm going to have a great day today. And I'm not saying I can see that it would be positive toxic. For me, it's more about positive reinforcement, and that like you say, you have to intentionally do things and you have to make a decision. And I guess you have to be really clear on where you want to be, as we know, coaching, where you are, because otherwise you do too many things and spread your wings too far, and you need to really get focused on that one thing. So I think going back to the positive part, it's about being intentional and in your actions and what you do, and like you say, doing a win list and knowing that when it gets tough, when you are on that comparisonitis, I haven't heard that term before, I love it though, or imposter syndrome, that you go back to that, and it is that moment of stop a second, and where am I at? This isn't working for me. I need to go back to looking at something that's going to drive me forward, because it naturally does. And like you say, our default is to be negative, which doesn't help us or serve us at all. What's your thoughts on this kind of positive toxic, and that, like I said, positive reinforcement?
Yeah, it is interesting. I've not heard that term actually, but it makes sense, right? And I think, as I say, at the beginning of your journey, when your mindset in terms of your business is not as strong, there are a lot of people that probably meet that criteria for you, where you can see them doing positive things, but they actually have quite a toxic effect on you and your actions. However, as you go through your business, as you keep implementing the mindset tools and taking the action, you do get stronger. And I obviously know this from my own journey. There were people I couldn't follow in the beginning because I was like, no, I'm just going down that hole of comparing myself. Now I can follow big accounts. I can be inspired by people that are so successful, because the only thing I think now is, okay, well, if they can do it, I can too. So, and that's only because I've worked on myself for 3 years to be able to get to that point. So it's not something you have to do forever. It's just, when you're not strong enough yet, do what you need to do to get you through. And when you become strong enough, you can then, go back out there, reassess what feels good for you, what's positive, and then you can obviously implement any of those new things as well.
And you know what, it's very inspiring there. We haven't even mentioned the word confidence, but you exude a confidence in yourself, which is, I guess it's enticing. And again, that's what draws people, isn't it? Because they want to be that. They feel, often so many females, and I guess where I wouldn't say I'm super confident. I am confident. And I remember years ago I had to work on what's the difference between confidence and arrogance. But I am actually confident, and I'll give things a go. And if I fail, I'll go again. And what do I learn from that? And no matter what experience we go through, whether it's what we deem, in our opinions, positive or negative, there is something to learn from it. Everybody says, well, it's a waste of time. Well, it could have been a waste of time. However, what about if you reframed it and looked at it that, well, I'm never going to do that again, therefore it's not going to be a waste of time in the future. I've learned my lesson. That's my taking and learning from it. And it's again that we mark ourselves, so we're our worst critic, aren't we? So harshly. So I think it's inspiring that you give off a confidence in that as well, and that becomes almost, like you said, as the underpinning as well, isn't it, to what you do, is that has to be there, and you have to be aware of that and then grow with that as well, because otherwise, no matter how great you are, actually, if you're not confident to get on a camera, you're not confident to have a voice or just give things a go, you're not confident to say I messed up, then you're always going to be never where you want to be. Probably you're always going to be marking yourself down, or it's never going to be great enough for you.
Yeah, it's confidence is a huge thing, especially with women that want to leave the 9 to 5, start their own business. It's so complex. And I think, like, when I first started, my focus was confidence too. And I know we were talking about this earlier, but I really wanted to help women become more confident, because I'd managed to muster up the confidence to start this business, and I wanted to show other women that was possible for them too. But the deep rootedness of the confidence issues, and there's so much underpinning it, and all these different experiences, and it is a real complex issue, and it takes a lot of, it can be done, and it should be done, and as they say, confidence is like a muscle. You have to practice it daily. But it's hard. It's a hard work. In the beginning, it is really hard work. But again, you get to this point where you kind of just tip, and you're like, okay, it's clicked, it's worked. And I think that's what happened with me. And I grew a lot of my confidence at the end of my corporate career, because I used to work, in this big corporate company, and I worked very closely with like CEOs and CFOs and all those really incredible type of people that were quite intimidating. They didn't mean to be intimidating, but just their knowledge and their characters were. And I used to think, oh, I'm just this girl who doesn't know what's going on. And I used to devalue myself so much. But luckily, I had a really great leader in that corporate company, and she just pushed me. She put me in front of the CEO. She put me in front of everyone. She put me in really uncomfortable situations, and I had to just get through. And from doing that, these people that I found so scary would come to me for help. They would be like, I don't know how to do this. I need you to do it. And that's when I was like, oh gosh, I can actually do something that they can't. And when women come to me and they're like, they want to start a business and they think they've got no skills, they think they've got no experiences, they think they can't offer anyone anything, I take them back and I'm like, look, what you think is easy is not easy to everyone else. And it could be the simplest thing, like you're really organized. Like, I'm really organized. And to some people, that's like the hardest thing in the world, to be organized, to have a plan, to, organize birthday parties and all that stuff. To me, it's a simple, fun thing, but to other people, it's really hard. So I think really just, and this is what I get clients to do, I get them to really hone in on, no matter how small it is, you have skills and you have experiences that no one else has and that you are better at, that people are going to come to you for help with. So it's about doing all of that work, and eventually you will get to a place where you value yourself and you know that you've got something to offer.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. I think you need great people around you, and you need, like you've said, you need people that see something in you and believe in you as well as you believe in yourself. But I think that, it could easily turn around and say, well, just get on with it, believe in yourself and that's all. We need more than that. And if that was the case, everyone would be doing it. So having people that believe in you helps, and connecting with people that whether you get a coach, a mentor. And I think people really underestimate the power that has in moving us forward. And we talk about investment. I remember the other week I was on a call with somebody about signing up to work with me, and they were like, well, how much are your session? And I was like, well, I don't charge a session. Like, I charge for a program because this is a transformation. I was like, okay, let's break it down. When you go to gym, I said, do you do 2 sessions and have abs? and like, we know this stuff. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, so at what point do you think that coming to coaching, you're going to just get everything out the first 1 or 2 sessions? Can you draw the parallels there? Can you see where I'm coming from with that? Let's just get some perspective here. And I do want to challenge you, yes, because that's why you come to me. Otherwise, you're not going to move forward if you don't, as you say, put yourself into challenging situations or very uncomfortable situations. And sometimes I'll do things and I'll get to the end of the day and I'll think, wow, like I did that really bad. That was really bad situation. And then but I won't give myself a hard time because I'm aware of it and I'm consciously doing it, like you said, this intentional part. So I will say, okay, so what am I going to do next time to change that? This and this happened. This was the output. That wasn't the output I desired or wanted. What am I going to do to change that? Who do I need to help me? So I guess it's very natural you start to coach yourself, but people underestimate how powerful it is. I think people, whether you're, I've got, nobody's better than anybody else. So judgment, you just have to diffuse that. But CFOs, CEOs, they are all got their own things going on. And half of them probably aren't even happy anyway. And this is going to come, I'm going to come and speak with you in a moment about values, because this really shined the other week when we spoke about it. But I think that actually, like, I can imagine you going and just asking them probably like 2 or 3 questions, and they're like those mic drop moments. And that's where coaching is powerful. And that's where, as you say, everybody can offer some different value to somebody. And we need to let go of judgment. We need to just be more open-minded. We need to stop being so critical of ourselves and to be more of a learning outlook and perspective in terms of what went great, what didn't go. Like you said, the start of the positive. Tell me what went really well for you today. What do you think you can improve on? Right, what are we going to do to change that? How are we going to close that gap? And that kind of the art of the possibility, the closing that gap, the just thinking out loud. We're not going to just, don't think you're going to go and do these things. Just think about things you could do. And yet then we get this kind of, as you said, this freedom more to think aloud and to think, well, I could do this and I could do that. And then it is, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go and do that. And that's, so sometimes confidence for me is around, people want to feel knowledgeable what they're doing. And I think we can spin a bit of that. You're never going to have all the knowledge. You just got to go for it. And I think if we looked more about, stop worrying about procrastination, and that's why I guess I challenged a little bit around some of the mindset stuff, that if we focus less on that and just more about the things we could do and just going for it and having an outlook of how do we be open-minded? How do we change our perspective and reframe the way we see the way our thoughts are for us, and then therefore our feelings? And by doing that and being intentional in doing that as a way of being, we are more likely to move forward at pace. And again, that's often what people want, because they wanted everything yesterday. So I think there's always loads of in this, which I love. And I guess that's why people connect, coaches connect, don't they? It's like we said, it's about collaboration. It shouldn't be competition. You shouldn't be that, you've all got something different to offer as value, for sure. Something you said to me a while ago, which I absolutely loved, and it might have been, it was just at that moment in time I was thinking a lot about it myself, but you said value your values, and that term's kind of stuck with me. So talk to me about what values mean to you, and what are some of your values? You don't have to share them all, because often they're very personal, but what are some of your values?
Yeah, so values to me are the beliefs and the principles and the things that you want in your life. So I had no clue what values were 3 years ago. I didn't know it was a thing. And it was only through coaching I got educated on what values were and how important they actually are.
Yeah.
And values are those things that need to be in your life in order to make you happy and content and fulfilled and be proud. And if you are living a life that is unaligned to your values, you might think you're doing all the right things, but when you get there, you reach that goal, none of your values have been ticked. And that's where conflict comes up. And that's where, yes, you might be so successful financially, but you're unhappy because you haven't paid attention to your values. So it's really important, and you should assess your values at each step in your life, because they can change through your experiences. And that's another mistake people make. They don't check back up on them. And I think sometimes we think we know our values, but we have to be careful, because sometimes our values come from other people. So your parents, your teachers, your friends, you can sometimes take on their values and think that's right for you, but without doing that work on yourself, you'll never know. And as I say, if you're living to someone else's values, you are going to get in a state of conflict when you eventually get to your end goal. So massively important. And my values, a big value for me was freedom. Freedom kept coming up like time and time again. And it made so much sense, because I was in a 9 to 5. I was successful. I had a good job, all the benefits, all that stuff, but I didn't have freedom. And that's what pushed me to start my own business and create this new life where freedom is at the forefront. And if I ever have a day where, there are going to be some days I spend loads of hours on my laptop and I'm frazzled and this, but if there's ever too many days like that, I have to think to myself, okay, this is not aligning with my values. I started this business to really fill my freedom tank up. So then I have to kind of reassess, okay, what do I need to do? And as a result, I'll be happier, I'll be more fulfilled, and, I can go on to have a much more content life. So yeah, freedom is probably my number one huge value in my life.
Yeah, it's interesting. How do you work through that with clients with their values? Is that something you do at the start?
Yes, so always at the start, because I think depending on how we go forward depends on their values.
Yeah.
So naturally, like coaches, we know to ask yourself questions, but naturally people just don't ask themselves that question. You don't give yourself the time or the space to really think about things. So I have a value elicitation exercise whereby we ask, I ask some really, I kind of I frame it up as a bit of an analogy, and I say, imagine if you were moving to the moon and you could only take 10 things with you. 10 things, could your friends and family can be a thing, pets can be a thing, mountains, nature, music, it doesn't have to be tangible things. Think about, what 10 things would you have to take with you? And then narrow that down to 5. Okay, actually, you now only have to take 5. So which of those are your top 5? then I ask people to say, okay, out of those things, go through each of those things and tell me what that means to you, what that brings you. So for example, music might bring someone joy, it might bring someone peace, nature might bring someone a sense of freedom, or it means different things to different people. So we get that definition, and then when they tell me what each thing brings to their life, that's when we start to draw down and pull the value out of that. So then we end up with a list of values.
Yeah.
And once you've got your values, you might have lots of different values. There's no limit to how many values you have, but there are some values that are going to be stronger than others that you need more of in your life. So then I do the next part of the exercise, which is prioritizing your values and coming up with your top 3 that you need to focus on in order to get the biggest impact in your life. And that's all, we do that through a series of questions and kind of a ruthless prioritization. I can't say that word, a ruthless prioritization technique, which basically says, okay, if you could have this value, but not this value, how does that feel? And if they say, no, I need the second value, I say, okay, well, if you could have the second value, but not the first value, how does that feel? So then that makes you really think, okay, right, gosh, if I had to choose, it really makes people drill down and really prioritize. Then once you've got those lists of your top values, you can then start to go through what's going on in your life at the moment and see where the gaps are and see, okay, how, like you said, how do I fill the gap? How do I make sure this value is showing up in my life? So it is quite a long process and it takes a few sessions to get there, but it's so worth it, because to me, it's the foundation of everything that you do moving forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. I do something similar, and I've done, obviously, like you say, we've both done that process. So it's very organic to us. But yeah, it is. I think that any time I notice something isn't working for me in life, or I'm getting hooked up, or I'm thinking, things like this is a struggle this week, I, like you say, kind of reset, and I have it in my my journal, kind of all my values. And I'll be honest, actually mine don't change too much, and you're absolutely spot on. They can change based on environment. Remember, you're doing them in a moment in time as well, based on an environment and an experience you're going through. So of course they can shift. And I guess, like you say, I probably haven't had any major life shifts. So something like having children, or maybe, having a relationship, those, I could see the dynamics change. Therefore, your values would absolutely change. Of course they would. So my fitness one might not be one of the top ones if I had 3 kids and a relationship and everything to keep going, because I just probably wouldn't. So I think, it's really important, and you do have to go back to those. And one of my biggest ones is respect, actually. And that's been interesting to see around building a business, and how much I let that sometimes. You think it can hold you back, but it actually doesn't, because if you don't, like you say, go back to, this is my value, it means this much to me, I'm aligning myself to it, I'm deliberately going to, intentionally going to do that, otherwise I won't be happy. And that I don't want a business built on something that isn't that, because it's not going to work for me. And actually I could probably try it for a little bit of time, and after a while that's not going to work. A little bit like we shared, that I'm not here just to get, we don't want an array of clients just to go, wow, look at me. It's not, I couldn't give a monkey's about that. What I really care about is adding value, resonating with someone, and them, that I believe in them and they believe in me as well. Because then you're not going to get these worries or procrastination thoughts of, am I a good enough coach, all of that, because you genuinely know that relation part of rapport has been there at the start. So I think that those, like you said, the same with values, those foundations of starting a business, your purpose in life, your purpose of your business, how you want to come across visibly as a leader and a coach, all of that is just so important to build, and then have patience with it and know that it takes time, and enjoy that process. People don't enjoy things enough.
Completely. I think values as well is something that, I say to my clients, okay, this is an exercise we're going to go through, it's something that we have to do, and they're like, okay. And it's for some of them it's quite exhausting, and it's like, oh God, having to think so much about myself and what I want and my life and all those things. But then once that's out of your system, knowing that you've got those like pillars that you're going to live by, is then actually, as you say, like, it's enjoyable and it's really helpful, because that means you have got something. Any decision that comes up in your life, you can go back to your values and say, okay, does it fit in with my things that are really important to me? And that's an amazing thing, because a lot of the time people are swept up in life, things happen, they take the wrong path, they make the wrong decisions, and it can cause like dramatic, you know, things that to happen in their life, and it can really set people back. So actually the process of getting your values and having those there is quite an amazing, like, life-changing thing in itself, just to know that you've got those to keep referring back to.
Yeah, it's great. Look, I think we could talk for hours and hours and hours about everything on this, which is great. And yeah, it's so interesting. It's great to connect with you. I'm going to give you those 5 questions that I give everybody. So if you were to measure success, how would you do that?
For me, with freedom being a big value, success to me is about, am I able to live the type of life that I want? So can I shut my laptop and go and spend the day with my friends? You know, can I treat my mum to things? So it's all about being able to have the experiences and the life that I choose, and being able to decide what I do with my time. That's what I consider to be success.
Amazing. What would you tell your younger self?
I would say, you don't know what you don't know. That's something I use all the time. And I think I was trapped in this corporate career for 10 years thinking, oh, I'm never going to be a business person. That's not for me. I don't know what to do. And, you know, the coaching industry just opened my eyes to anything is possible.
Yeah.
And if I'd have known that 10 years ago, gosh, who knows where I'd be now, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, it's not my journey.
And I love your perspective on that, because absolutely same with myself, very similar journeys, corporate world, and, you know, high performance and high intense environments as well. You know, leadership is hard gig, managing people. At this point in the amount of times I'd say it's probably easier running a creche or being a vet. And I never would have thought that at 18, but yeah, it probably would have been easier than managing lots of people. But yeah, I think, like you said, if you are in corporate and you hate it and you think, oh, this isn't serving me, you can learn so much from it. Again, it's how you choose to see things. You can still take so much powerful experiences and learnings to move you in going forward. You just have to be mindful of the rate and the pace. And are you happy with that, I think?
Yeah.
So, great. What one thing could people do to live a happier life?
Align with your values, definitely. Get that alignment with your values. Also, don't let other people have the power. That's something that's massive to me. And it's all about, you know, choosing how you respond to people. People can do whatever they want. Anything can happen in the world, but only you get to decide how you feel, think, act, behave, all those things. So I definitely say, let go of the power that other people have over you, and just focus on how you want to be, what the outcome that you want, and go ahead and create that.
What a great line into next one. So what do you want to be known for?
I just want to be known for being someone who has just gone out there and wanted what they've wanted and took the action to get there, and then, you know, help other people see that it's possible for them too. As coaches, we are obviously out there all the time, and we're doing things and we're trying things, and we really do push ourselves out of our comfort zone. And I think we underestimate the power that just doing a story, doing a live, you know, it has on people. You know, I get messages from people saying, you know, how do you do that? How do you get to be that way? And if I can just help other people do that as well, I know they'll live a happier life, that they'll be more fulfilled. So yeah, that's what I'd want to be known for.
So I said, what was the kind of people can do to be happier in life? What could people do to live a more purposeful life?
Yeah, so I think having a vision of where you want to go will definitely help you with your purpose. And there are lots of things you can do to help you build that vision, lots of questions that you can ask. Then just keep taking small actions. So no matter what your vision is, whether it's to, you know, have a family or have a business, whatever that might be, just keep taking small actions to improve yourself to get closer to that vision. Don't overwhelm yourself with big actions. Small action every single day is better than a massive action every month. And then just be really present. I think that's something I've learned. Taking that time to just switch everything off, be present, you know, I always have like a moment where I stand at the back door and I have my cup of tea and I let the dogs out, and I don't think of anything else other than what's going on in that moment. And that, it brings me so much happiness, that moment. It sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. It really does, because you just see other things and you appreciate other things. And I think that helps me then align back to my purpose, and just enables me then to, okay, switch back in, take the action, and do what I need to do.
Good for you. Look, it's been a pleasure to have you on, and I really value and appreciate your time, and loads of nuggets. I always write little bits down and think of bits, and I've thought I need to challenge myself a bit to not always write everything down. So I'd be like, right, I'm going to keep it in my head and then think about at the end, one of my free learnings from doing this, like I do everything, but there's so much within this, which is great. Where can people find you?
No, it's been fab, and people can find me on Instagram, so it's at Nadia_Oboye. So yeah, that's the main place where I hang out. So come and find me.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and a huge thank you to Nadia for joining me. It was amazing to hear some of the great work that you're doing with your clients. If you've enjoyed this episode, I highly recommend that you check out the previous episodes, exploring everything from business, relationships, mindset, and goal setting, and loads more. And I'm also wanting to invite you to join my coaching program. So reach out, let me know your biggest struggle at the moment, and let's see if I can help you and move you forward. And if I can't, maybe I know somebody who can, because that's the important part, is actually helping people and taking action. Whatever you do, I'll always say have a great week, but go take action and have a great day.